Welcome everyone to the Collaborative Partnerships Bridge to Supporting UPK Implementation presentation. This is a presentation that is a collaboration between expanded learning programs and partnerships for UPK implementation. My name is Tom McFadden. I'm with the Expanded Learning Unit here in Los Angeles County Office of Education. And then I'll let my partner Sarah introduce herself.
Well, welcome everyone. My name is Sarah Vasquez. I'm retired LA Unified School District Administrator, currently with the UPK division at LACO, and I've had 15 years of experience in ESL and also the second part of the career in early childhood education. And it's my pleasure to present with you, Tom, our presentation virtually from the Principals Institute. Let's begin.
Perfect. And then the next slide is really a graphic that we borrowed from the state's UPK system. This kind of sets the tone for our presentation in that UPK is a bridge in many aspects between several different systems that are operating currently in California to support TK and kindergarten students. Expanded learning is a part of that, Head Start, the California State Preschool Program, and so on. So we're building on the work that's already been done. Implementation is ongoing, and we're excited to be able to bring some of our thoughts and our expertise to the field.
Yes, Tom, I always like that bridge visual because it shows how we're all connected and going the same direction. And so today what we're going to do virtually is try to cover as much as we can as we did at our presentation session by we already did the introductions, and now we're going to have some discussion on the UPK collaborative partnerships using the 3 C's in UPK, which I'll go into detail on, and then Tom will cover the leveraging of the ELO program for UPK support. And then you'll have a chance to access some of the websites and materials online. Exactly. Thanks, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
So with our collaborative partnerships, we are going to focus on how that connects us to the rest of the presentation. I think you can move to the next slide, Tom.
Okay.
Yeah. So the County Office of Education had work groups focusing on different areas. Today's focus is on this. Actually, I was going to go a little bit into what the grant was about. Some of you may not be at that level yet. There was a UPK Planning and Implementation grant that was the opportunity for us to encourage everyone to collaborate as a state to support pre-K programs. And everyone had the opportunity to reach into some funding that allowed us to support the CSPP, the Head Start students, the TK students, all of those little entities you saw under the bridge in the visual earlier. And all of it is to show that we are all partners in this game together, and we're going to do it as a collaborative. And everyone was to pose a plan in 5 focus areas: their vision, their community engagement partnerships, workforce development, curriculum, and facilities. And Tom and I are going to focus on the focus area B, the community engagement and partnerships piece. So let's continue to the next slide. And what I'd like you to do to begin with is kind of reflect on your own, where you think you are in your universal preschool program collaboration. You may go to say to yourself, okay, on a scale from 1 to 10, maybe if you say, what is UPK? Well, maybe I'm in the beginning, 0 or 1. That could be possible. We did meet some people at the Institute. We were so happy to have them. Some of them were not even aware of UPK and needed more information, and that's fine. Take a minute to think about that and think about where you might be from a 1 to 10 on the scale with your implementation of collaborative partnerships in UPK. You might be, have you identified your UPK partners yet? Who are your stakeholders? Do you have a list of them? Do you meet with them? Have you communicated with them yet? Have you trained them, whoever they may be? Have you shared resources with them? Where are you with your plan to put UPK in place and with all of these partners as your stakeholders? And do they know how to leverage the resources that exist? Do your partners know? Are they helping you with this? This is what we want you to think about, where you are in this collaborative partnership scheme of things, and then what can we do to help you move forward from where you are. So take a minute to do that, and as you think about it, jot down maybe a couple of your next steps or needs that you might have in moving forward. Well, maybe I need to contact everyone and get together and talk about this. Or no, we've got everything in place and we just need to train the staff or find a new curriculum, wherever it might be. Just rate yourself. This is only for you to do. So take a minute to do that. And then Tom will continue with the next slide. And Tom, as everyone's had a chance to think about where they are, why don't you give us a little read of this that comes right out of the document that we're going to review?
How the Foundation for Positive Transitions is laid out across all levels of the system to support children, families, and staff through transitions can have far-reaching effects on children's well-being and academic success.
Exactly. We already know this, Tom, from all the transition work we've done over the years since transitional kindergarten rolled out about 10 years ago in California. We've seen how important it is to have the children and their families engage, as well as the staff, and how the impact has been positive on children's well-being and success in kindergarten and beyond. And so let's take a look at the next slide, where we focus more on the LA County Transition Framework, which involved a work group of parents, teachers, community leaders, administrators, all of those stakeholders we were referring to earlier. They got together to provide a roadmap for school district and early childhood education programs in LA County in order to align the kindergarten transition system and to provide some policies and practices that start at birth and continue through transition into kindergarten. So that's what we're going to delve in a little bit deeper, starting with the next slide, is that LA County Transition Framework. And this is one of our favorite slides, right, Tom, where we look at the child in the center, because that's what our focus is. And as you look at the child, you see how important all these other elements are around the child, with the school getting involved, the leadership, the community, and the family. Everyone's working together to cross that bridge, right? And provide the ultimate of mixed delivery systems possible. And the 3 C's that we're going to look at are coordination of all of these groups, the collaboration, and the cooperation. But by coordination, we mean aligning the defined alignment and articulation across the sharing of information among all the stakeholders that we talked about. The cooperation means the relationship building among all these groups, all with the child in the center. And then the collaboration means individualized supports for children who might need a little extra. And all of this together to focus on the child and maximize all of the delivery systems we have, and working in partnerships with everyone together. And so, Tom, we always talk about how much we like this slide. Is there anything you wanted to add to this?
Yeah, I do like the slide, and it speaks to us, to me, in the expanded learning world, of our continuous quality improvement cycle, which looks very much like the circles in the center of the slide, with the three C's, right? Coordination, collaboration, and cooperation, and that it never really ends. That we want to continue to improve upon the foundation, the implementation that we're going through now, and then that'll look a little bit different a couple years from now as we learn more, as we do more with our students, families, and staff.
Indeed, and you're right on where we've already learned a lot about how we do it well.
Sarah, you were cutting out on that last part.
Oh, okay. The only thing I wanted to add there was that across the early learning to kindergarten activities for children and families, we've typically learned what works well. Now we're really wanting to make those connections vertically, going from lower grades to upper grades and having a continuum that's smooth and seamless. And we need to do more work in aligning our systems and ongoing connections among the leadership and administrators, teachers, and schools and families and communities and organizations in our neighborhoods, and all to support that child in the middle. So right on, spot on, Tom. Thank you.
Sure.
So with that, I'd like to go in a little bit into the transition action plan that exists in that document that you will have a link to the Birth to Kindergarten Transition Systems Alignment Framework. This comes right out of it. And what we'd like to show is that it's really we're all in different places in our trajectory here. And we may be in the very first circle at the top, identifying your key stakeholders, and that's okay. Who are they? And write them down. There is in that document a whole transition plan template for you to use if you'd like to write right in it. You can download it, you can print it, it's free, and you might be at the identifying the key stakeholders point. If you're already past that, you can assess evidence that you have of current practices, like do you have all the appropriate, developmentally appropriate furniture for UTK, UPK students? Do you have, are you already set with the curriculum, or are you still choosing a curriculum? What's the evidence of your current practice? And then you might be at the third step where you're assessing your challenges and opportunities. Maybe you've got all your centers in place indoors, but you don't know what to do. I just spoke to a school today, Tom, that wanted some ideas on how to reflect their indoor environment outdoors. Mm-hmm. And so I was giving them some tips on how to do that. So maybe that might be a challenge where you are right now. It's all different at different local education agencies. Have you communicated the information that you already know about UPK to your stakeholders, to your work group? Do they know how to access information they need? Do they know what developmentally appropriate practice is? And if not, or if yes, where could we develop more in our action plan, the actual plan to help us transition? And then let's implement the plan. You already have one in place, great. I know some places who have already been doing this for a long time, and they're just like implementing it, but they need to evaluate and reevaluate and refine as we move forward and have additional goals moving forward. So that's kind of the transition plan framework, which can easily be obtained from that link at the end. So moving on to the next slide.
So I'll jump in. Thank you, Sarah, for your
input.
Much appreciated. So my part is on leveraging the ELO, the Expanded Learning Opportunities Program, for the support of our UPK students. As I mentioned earlier, I am now with the Los Angeles County Office of Education. Prior to that, I was the director of both Expanded Learning and our state preschool programs at the district level. And I helped write the UPK and ELOP program plans for the district, including the initial implementation of both UPK and ELOP. So it's quite a process, and the process, like we said, is continuous and collaborative and ongoing. So the unit that I work with, the Expanded Learning Technical Assistance Unit here at LACO, has 5 services. We provide consultation, facilitation, resources, which is part of the reason why we're talking to you today, coaching and professional development. And again, we'll make those opportunities known to you here at the end of the presentation. So let me dive into what was the bulk of my part of the presentation at the UPK Administrators Institute, is really to do an overview of the two latest tools that we came out with for UPK implementation. We divided them up into two volumes: an implementation tool, volume 1, on program elements of expanded learning programs, the Expanded Learning Opportunities Program in particular, and the volume 2 tool, which I'll talk about here on the next slide, as the calibration piece between the ELOP and the UPK program plans. And so this QR code is live and up to date. We just updated the plans recently. We updated the tools recently. So this QR code, I'm going to encourage you in the virtual land to access the two tools, the Volume 1 Program Elements tool and the Volume 2 Calibration tool, for you to look at as you are considering what to do with your implementation of both UPK and ELOP. One of the things that we found out as I was the director of both programs and working with the Expanded Learning Unit, in that the program plans, especially, and this is called out in Volume 2, is that there are points in both program plans that UPK has to say what they're doing with ELOP, and ELOP has to say what they're doing with UPK. So they're very much moving down the same track at the same time. Just an overview of the Volume 1 program elements. The program elements tool really speaks to how you implement your program, what is required of your Expanded Learning Opportunities program. Page 1 of the tool gives a background and a graphic of how expanded learning and UPK systems come together through the servicing of our TKK students. And then the rest of the document is geared towards the program elements, from the educational and enrichment element all the way down to the continuous quality improvement element. In each of these elements, there are requirements that programs should pay attention to. So one of the first things that we discussed in person was the need for districts or LEAs or charters to be able to clearly identify who is leading the implementation of both ELOP and UPK, because you want to get those people at the same table at the same time at some point, because implementation should be calibrated between both those programs. And so this Volume 1 tool is a really great resource for programs to find out what it is that they should be doing and what it is that they have to do. And the tool itself has hyperlinks and resources throughout it to be able to help those program leads implement their ELOP programs with authenticity. The other thing I want to mention about the Volume 1 tool is that on each of the program elements, you'll see the program element followed by considerations for the implementors to discuss and calibrate and collaborate on as the implementation is ongoing. So those are some informed conversations that can take place and help that implementation of ELOP. The second volume, Volume 2, is all about the calibration of the ELOP program plan and the UPK program plan. Like I mentioned, there is calibration points in each document that says, what are you doing in your ELOP plan to house an implementation of UPK. And in the UPK plan, it speaks to, in some parts, what is going on with your ELOP implementation. So the Volume 2 tool, again, is live. This QR code will take you to the updated Volume 2 tool. And again, the first page is an explanation of the purpose of the document, along with the background of ELOP and UPK in terms of these program plans. And then we found out that there were 7 areas that called for calibration between ELOP program plan and the UPK program plan, and those are outlined in the tool. So in inside of the tool, each of those 7 areas is detailed in terms of what is expected, what the requirements are of that particular part of the program plan, and how it calibrates with one another, how the UPK program plan calibrates with the ELLP program plan and vice versa. So I encourage you again to look at the volume 1 and 2 tool for these pieces that can help you with your implementation of both UPK and ELLP. So for example, on page 4 of the volume 2 tool, this specifically called out the program plan due dates, board approvals, considerations, postings, and updates. And that's important because these should have gone to board, been board approved already, both the UPK and the ELLP plan. And it speaks to what to do if that has not happened and what to do if you've had changes to that plan. So there are implementation calibration points dotted throughout the document to be able to, again, help programs implement fully UPK and ELLP. And at the end of both documents, there is several different online resources that you will have access to through the hyperlinks.
So I think, Tom, that you could show the second part for volume 2. We might have another slide you were talking to already, or
so this is the volume 2 tool that we used when we were live in person for calibrating ELLP and UPK plans. Again, the QR code on here is live. We just updated this recently, so that you'll be able to access both the volume 1 tool and the volume 2 tool through these QR codes. So thank you for that reminder, Sarah. Appreciate that.
No worries. It was great to cover both 1 and 2 in one breath. But yeah, here's the other piece. Glad to have the QR code. And so, tell us a little bit about the website.
We, the Expanded Learning Technical Assistance Unit here in Laco, are offering several different trainings in and around supporting TK and kindergartners in expanded learning programs. One training is on these tools themselves, along with other offerings that are in support of TKK students in expanded learning. So those trainings are found on our website, which is on this page. Our website at LACO has all the trainings listed, and you can register. You don't have to be in a district. You could be in a charter, you could be in a district, you could be an administrator, you could be in an expanded learning program, you could be a third-party provider. These trainings are open to everyone, and they are at no cost. So that is something that if you have an interest in, you can definitely register for that. And then Sarah, we have a link to the framework that Sarah was referencing. If you want to speak on that, Sarah.
Yes, thanks, Tom. I barely scratched the surface on this great tool, the Birth to Kindergarten Transition Systems Alignment Framework. I barely got to address the template, but it is in there, the Transition Action Planning template. But not only that, there's also a great tool there for leaders and administrators on what coordination, cooperation, and collaboration looks like for leaders in like a nice handy dandy chart. Take a look at it. It's worth a look. So thank you for posting that today. We added it in there because we didn't have the handout to give you. So at least you have the link. Worth a look. Thank you, Tom.
Sure. And then kind of in wrapping up this virtual version of our presentation, we know that we are part of the P3 or preschool through third grade continuum, which has gotten a pretty intensive look from Dr. Tony Thurman's initiative statewide throughout the state of California. And really it's in support of the TKK students in that mixed delivery system that Sarah mentioned, that is now requiring many systems to work together. For example, expanded learning is one of them. Community schools is another one. So we just have to work together to be able to get our students off to the very best start that we can.
So yeah, we want to take that plunge together to ensure that all the systems are linked, and linking them requires more than just putting, pieces together. It's to be effective, new policies must be looked at intentionally and supported with all of the elements along this continuum. And that way we can provide the most effective outcomes for children. And that's the bottom line. So let's take that plunge together. And it was a pleasure presenting this with you virtually again, Tom.
So the last slide here as we finalize our presentation is just our contact information. Both of our emails are listed on this page. We would love to hear from you if you needed our help. We're here for you as you wrap your heads and your hands around this work of implementation of UPK and ELOP and everything in between as part of this P3 continuum. So we appreciate your time. And again, reach out if you have any questions of me. And Sarah, I'm sure you feel the same way.
Absolutely. I've already had people reach out to me since our presentation in person, so I appreciate that. So do take down our email addresses. We're here to provide as much information and support as you need. Thanks a lot.
Perfect, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much.